These are devotions for people at a social distance. Have you ever done something just really dumb? Something that you look back on it afterwards and you said, that was just really, really stupid. Well, of course you have, because we all have done those things. We all have those events in our life where we really look back at them and we hit ourselves because, that was just not the right thing to do. That was dumb. Well, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is about that kind of mistake, or at least I think that's what it's about. It's 1 Chronicles 11:15-19. I was reading it in my devotions this morning. And this is in a long section in the 1 Chronicles. It's also there in Samuel, where it goes on and on about these great men, these great people who supported David and made his policies and his wars such a success. Because, if David was a success, this is true for anyone who's a success, nobody does it alone. Everybody needs that kind of support. And in particular, there's a group of warriors. There's a group of 30 warriors who are praised to the hilt in the Bible for all of the incredible things they did. One of them, by the way, is a man named Uriah, who, if you are familiar with the story of David in 1 Samuel, is the husband of Bathsheba. And there's a whole story there about how he gets killed. And he was one of the main supports of the army of David. And that just gives you a sense of the cost of that mistake that David made. But that's not the mistake I want to talk about here, because this one is just a dumb mistake. And so apparently one day, David was in a fight with the Philistines, and the Philistines have taken possession of a little town called Bethlehem. And if you know David's story, David is from Bethlehem. That is his hometown, and it seems to be at least temporary under enemy control. And David is facing down against the Philistines, who have taken control of Bethlehem. And so he does this. David said longingly, he's sitting in the camp with his soldiers, and he says, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem that is by the gate." Kind of an understandable sentiment. You remember the things from your hometown, the things you grew up with. Of course, David remembers that taste of that pure, clean water from that well where he grew up, and he wants, here he's lamenting, the town is under enemy control. Wouldn't it be nice to have that water? And so what happens? Well, 3 of the greatest warriors, the strongest, the best, they go and they break into the camp, they break into the Philistine camp, and they go and they grab some water from that well and bring it back to David. And David says, as a result, but David would not drink it. He poured it out to the Lord. He said, "God forbid that I should do this. Can I drink the blood of these men? For at the risk of their lives, they brought it." So David regretted this thing that he said. It was an understandable thing, but of course it had huge consequence because, yes, these 3 warriors, they went and they fought and they won, but they could not have won. And what cost would have that been to the nation if 3 of the best warriors had been killed, all for a glass of water? And so David regrets the foolishness. And yes, we all make mistakes and we all get things wrong. But of course, the reason why we know this story is because David made the mistake, but because these great men did this ridiculously dangerous task on a whim of the king. And he shouldn't have said it. He shouldn't have done it. And yet, great things still came from it. And ultimately, I assume, victory over the Philistines at Bethlehem came from it. And sometimes God takes our mistakes and the really dumb things we do and turns them into something marvelous. God in grace redeems both our best efforts and sometimes our dumbest mistakes. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God.